I lost everything: my job, my health, and my sense of purpose. But what happened after may change the way you see your own struggles. Before we dive deep into this journey, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join this community, because stories like this aren't just stories, they're lifelines for those who need them. I remember the exact moment my life began to crumble. It wasn't some big dramatic explosion of bad luck. It wasn't a single catastrophic event. It was quieter than that, almost like watching a slow leak in a boat you didn't realize was sinking until you were already waist-deep in water. At first, it was just my job. For years, I had worked in an office, a routine 9 to 5 that I never loved but that gave me stability. Stability meant a roof, food, bills paid, and that illusion of control we all cling to. But then, without warning, that foundation cracked. The company was downsizing, they said. It's nothing personal, they said. But it felt personal, because it was my life, my livelihood, my security, and suddenly it was gone. At first, I tried to handle it like a soldier. I told myself this was temporary, that I would find another job quickly, maybe even something better. I filled out applications day after day, tailoring resumes, writing cover letters. But silence echoed back. Weeks turned into months, and each rejection email felt heavier than the last. Somewhere along the line, I began to feel like I wasn't just losing opportunities, I was losing myself. When you define your worth by your productivity, losing your job feels like losing your identity. But losing my job was only the first blow. The second came in the form of my health. Stress has a way of sneaking in through the cracks you don't even notice, and for me, it showed up first in sleepless nights. At first, I told myself it was normal, just anxiety. But soon, my body began to betray me. Fatigue settled into my bones. Headaches became daily visitors. My stomach churned constantly, rejecting food, making me weak. Doctors poked, prodded, ran tests, and shrugged. Stress, they said. Depression, they said. You need rest. But how do you rest when your world is collapsing? The bills didn't stop. The rent didn't pause. The hunger in my belly and the shame in my chest grew louder every day. I couldn't tell my family how bad it was getting. I plastered on fake smiles, said, "I'm fine," when they asked. But inside, I wasn't fine. I was broken. And the more I tried to hide it, the more it consumed me. Then came the third blow, the one I didn't see coming, the loss of my purpose. You see, work wasn't just about money, it was about having somewhere to be, something to do, someone depending on me. Without it, I woke up with no direction. Days blurred into nights. I sat in silence, scrolling endlessly on my phone, drowning in comparison. Everyone else seemed to be moving forward, building lives, achieving milestones, while I was stuck in quicksand. I felt invisible, worthless, like the world would keep spinning whether I existed or not. It's hard to explain what it feels like to lose your sense of purpose. It's not just sadness, it's emptiness. It's like staring into a mirror and not recognizing the person looking back. I wasn't the worker, the friend, the sibling, the child people knew. I was just existing. And sometimes, I didn't even want to do that. There were days I didn't want to get out of bed. There were nights when I stared at the ceiling, wondering what the point of all this was. I thought about quitting, not just the job hunt, not just the fight for health, but life itself. I never told anyone that. It's easier to suffer in silence than to explain pain no one can see. But somewhere in that darkness, something unexpected happened. It wasn't some magical light shining down from the heavens. It wasn't a sudden miracle. It was small, fragile, almost unnoticeable. One day, when I felt too weak to face another rejection, too tired to answer another, "How are you?" With a lie, I opened a notebook and started to write. Not because I had something profound to say, but because I needed somewhere to put the weight I was carrying. At first, the words were messy, incoherent scribbles of anger, fear, and hopelessness. But as the days went by, writing became a ritual. Every morning, I spilled my thoughts onto paper, no matter how dark they were. And slowly, I began to see patterns. I began to see that my story wasn't just about loss, it was about survival. Writing didn't fix my problems, but it gave me something I hadn't felt in a long time: purpose. My pain had a place to go. My thoughts had structure. My existence had proof. And as I wrote, I realized I wasn't just documenting despair, I was carving a path through it. But purpose is fragile, especially when your body is weak. My health continued to decline. Panic attacks came in waves, leaving me gasping for air. Some days I couldn't leave the house. Friends stopped calling. Invitations stopped coming. I was alone more often than not. But loneliness, while cruel, became a teacher. In the silence, I learned to listen, not to the world, but to myself. I had been running on autopilot for so long, living a life designed by expectations, not desires. Losing everything forced me to confront the one question I had avoided my whole life: who am I without all the labels? The answer wasn't simple. It wasn't immediate, but it started with small steps. I began walking every morning, even if my body screamed in protest. I began cooking again, simple meals, reminding myself what nourishment felt like. I started reaching out, not to everyone, but to one or two people who genuinely cared. And I shared little pieces of my writing. To my surprise, people responded. They said, "I feel this too." They said, "Thank you for putting into words what I couldn't." For the first time in a long time, I realized I wasn't alone. My pain wasn't unique, but that meant neither was my healing. It wasn't easy. Some days, the darkness still won. Some days, I still felt like giving up. But I kept showing up for myself, even when no one else could. I realized that purpose isn't something handed to you by a job, a title, or even health. Purpose is built in the small choices we make to keep going, to create, to connect. Looking back now, I can't say I'm grateful for the pain, but I can say it transformed me. Losing my job stripped me of false security. Losing my health taught me to listen to my body. Losing my purpose forced me to create a new one. And in the rubble of everything I lost, I found something stronger: resilience. If you're reading this and you feel like you're drowning, please know you're not alone. I've been there, in the darkness, in the silence, in the hopelessness. But I'm proof that even when everything feels gone, you can rebuild. Not overnight, not perfectly, but piece by piece. And maybe that's the point. Maybe we aren't meant to have it all figured out. Maybe we're meant to fall apart sometimes so we can discover the parts of ourselves we never knew existed. If this story touched you, if you've ever felt lost, broken, or without purpose, don't walk this journey alone. Subscribe now and join a community of people who are rebuilding, who are finding meaning in the mess, who are refusing to give up. Share this story with someone who needs hope today, and let's remind the world, even when we lose everything, we can still find ourselves.